Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. Happy Black History Month. It's 2026. Woo! And we are starting off, those of us who are in the Midwest and in other places. It's cold and it's snowy and all the things, but that does not overshadow the fact that it is Black History Month. And I'm excited to kick off hosting 20 of my most favorite people who are amazing humans, but also super successful. And I have the one and only Mekka Don with me today. Welcome, welcome, Mr. Mekka Don.
What's going on?
How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am amazing. I am honored that you said yes to kicking off this super duper highlight of Black excellence for all of February in 2026. So we are going to get right into it. For those of you who don't know, by the end of the interview, you'll know him. But this is the Renaissance man. We have a man with us who played ball for the Ohio State University, who then became an attorney, who is a rapper, who is an author, and as of late is also a tech founder. So the excellence pours and seeps, I should say, from your pores. But I'm going to kick us off with a unique question.
Okay.
I want you to share a tiny moment or a small win that you're quietly proud of that most people wouldn't know.
Wow. That most people wouldn't know. Okay.
Because people know a lot about you, but,
yeah, you're getting to the good stuff.
They don't know because you stay in these PR streets.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, I have a moment, but it's kind of a series of moments.
Okay.
That I think kind of are really illustrative of kind of how my life has gone. So
okay, good, because I was going to ask you that next. So go ahead and tell us, and then we'll pivot into your journey.
Sure. So when I was in New York, for almost 20 years, and I was really trying to find my way in the entertainment industry. And I was really trying to figure out how can I get, certain roles, how can I get more exposure? And one day on MySpace,
throwback.
somebody reached out to me and about an audition for a small role on the Dave Chappelle show. And so at first I thought it was a joke because it came through MySpace, but then I realized very quickly that it was real. And I went to it in Brooklyn and I ended up getting the role. It was a very small role, but a very memorable episode. It was a gang wars episode. Mos Def and I were on the one side of a gang and Dave Chappelle was on the other side. And we had these funny skits and hilarious day. And small role, but it was fun. And it, Dave Chappelle show was the hottest thing at that time. So small win from Mekka Don. Very, very excited again.
And this is before you were the Mekka Don?
Way before. This is many 15.
Were you even going by Mekka Don at that point? Because I know
I probably was not.
Right.
Yeah. So it was before the kind of the birth of Mekka Don. And I was so excited about it. And but again, it wasn't a big role. So it didn't really lead to much else after that. But it was just one of those things. And so being on set, Mos Def and Dave Chappelle were the clear stars on set, and there were a bunch of other actors there. Anyway, fast forward about 17 years later. Now I'm Mekka Don. Now I have a little bit of notoriety. People know who I am a little bit more. Obviously not on that level, but I've definitely done a lot of things. And I end up writing a book called Buckle Up, the Playbook. 5 winning plays for go-getters. And I ended up mentioning that story in the book, kind of how I met Dave and kind of how that situation had happened and just watched him and observed him and learned from him. And it was kind of an anecdotal part of one of the stories I was telling in the book. Well, fast forward a couple months after I released that book, which was a couple months ago, I ended up being backstage at an event that Dave Chappelle is also backstage at with Common, with Pete Rock, who I know, and Pete Rock knows me well, and end up getting to talk to Dave. And this is the first time I've seen him since then. And I end up getting to talk to him, and we get to talk about that particular episode. And he was
Did he remember you?
He didn't remember me.
Of course not.
But
because it was a tiny moment.
100%. But he did remember the episode and the circumstances and was like, that was one of my favorite episodes that I ever did on that show. And it was just amazing just to a full circle moment. And I got to
Mhm.
tell him, you're in my book as well. Like that was a pivotal to you. It probably was a small thing, just another day at the office.
Mhm.
For me, that was kind of a pivotal moment in my career that gave me insight onto what greatness looks like, but also that I can do things, right? That I can be in this circle, I can be in of this world. And so to
Yes.
be back, almost 20 years later in his presence, but in a totally different way, small win, but I think it's something that makes me very excited.
Well, and I love that story because one of the things that we focus on in Achieve Global is humanizing success, humanizing the journey of life in pursuit of success.
Yeah.
And I feel like, especially in today's world where success is microwaved through the lens of social media, and it looks like, it just looks like somebody came out of nowhere and is the Mekka Don. And one of the things we're focusing on as we move forward in our work and in our podcasts and other content we produce is really showing people what it takes, right? And what it takes is not what you think,
100%.
right? And so if you think about, I just discovered we just did a live the other day, and I just discovered this. I knew that a lot of folks don't achieve their goals, but what I didn't know is that 84% of people don't even set goals. And it's not because of lack of ambition.
Yeah.
It's lack of clarity. It's the overwhelming thought of it all. And I think it's also the myths of success. And so that's why I'm asking you the questions I'm asking you, because what I want people to know, it's fun to hear the stories and hear all the success, but I'm going to ask you about the hard stuff, because people need to understand that the journey to happiness and success is just that. It's a journey, right? And so it takes that small win 17 years ago and the continued pursuit from then to now, right? To even get to become the Mekka Don, which you're a big deal, but you're going to become even bigger, right? And that's the whole point of it. So tell us a little more. You became a star athlete at OSU. You became an attorney, but tell us about your journey, a little bit about your childhood, moving into football, attorney, all this stuff. Give us a little bit of, again, you got a dynamic story. So we ain't got, even though we're going to spend some time together today, we ain't going to be able to cover it all. But tell us a little bit about your journey and how you became who you are today.
Well, I think my journey really starts from, again, growing up in Columbus, Ohio, born and raised, the youngest of 4 kids. My parents moved to Columbus from Nigeria in the early 70s, both on academic scholarship to the Ohio State University. So we became a Buckeye family right away.
OH.
And IO. But being the youngest of 4, I think brought a totally different perspective for me in terms of how I viewed life. I was able to watch not just my siblings and my parents, but aunts, uncles, cousins. We had a lot of people in our house, if you know those type of households.
Yes, real family, like extended.
People I call my cousin that we don't have a drop of blood in the same, but
that's how we do for the culture.
But I was able to learn so much from just observing and watching their situations and their struggles and their successes, and was able to kind of pick and choose in a way some of the things that I liked and some of the things I didn't like and what I wanted to be and not be. I think also being the youngest also gives you the ability to explore a little bit more, and you don't have the same restrictions. And my parents were definitely not as strict with me as they were with my older brother.
You were spoiled. Is that what you're saying?
Well, maybe not
comparatively to your oldest sibling, probably
the baby, but not spoiled. I'll
I refuse to let people call me spoiled either.
Yeah, so that brought a lot of just. We had a lot of talent in my family as well. Most of my parents were very talented academically, but they were also athletes growing up. And then all my siblings were also athletes, and we loved music. So music was a big part of our household, and just the diversity of music as well. So growing up in that type of environment was great, but it was also pressure as well, because everybody in my family is successful. So from the perspective of how society views things, for sure. My parents had 10 degrees between the two of them.
Wow.
My brother, who's the oldest, he's a doctor and a lawyer. My sister is a doctor. My next sister is a lawyer. And then there's me, right, who's also a lawyer.
And then there's just you, who's also all the things.
Well, and so imagine that type of pressure, even if you don't.
Yeah, absolutely.
that's real pressure to achieve. And so, that's part of what my story was a story of my own individual success and goals, but also the story of someone who's part of a group, part of a tribe, part of a family who represents certain values in the broader community. So you're also upholding your own reputation, but you're also carrying the reputation of your family as well. And so, but the good news is that being the youngest, I was able to explore different things. So I got into music and sports early, sports particularly. I played 4 sports in high school. I always was just an athlete, and my siblings were athletes. But I really, really fell in love with music, particularly in high school, and the idea of creating music. I loved music before that, but the idea of participating and being a musician came in high school. My brother and I and 2 other guys started a band. I was a drummer in the band. We played all different types of music. And that was really what kind of introduced me to the world of being an artist. But all while doing that, I'm still an athlete, still played multiple sports in high school, ended up being a preferred walk-on at Ohio State, getting a full ride academic scholarship to Ohio State, which was part of what sealed the deal for me to actually go there. But I'm still at this point, still in love with music, still kind of in love with other things. Football was not my dream growing up. I didn't play until my senior year of high school. So I was a soccer player before that. And so for me, though, I realized, being able to go to Ohio State as a football player in any capacity was a huge win, and something I realized at that time was just an unbelievable experience that I was going to get, the opportunity that I'm going to get in terms of meeting people, networking, learning, growing. And, 25 years later, I'm still in business with the Ohio State University. So the things that I thought intuitively back then have come to fruition tenfold. But that was the thing, I think, and then I ended up moving from Ohio State and going to law school to New York, got into NYU, went to NYU for law school, but I deferred law school for a year. And I went and moved to New York and pretty much ran the streets of New York for a year and slept on my brother and sister's couch, who were both in New York. And I didn't know anybody by the time I got there. But by that time that first year was up, I knew everybody.
Because that smile is undefeated.
Well, yeah, I gotta get it some way. So, and that was just an amazing experience for me. It was humbling as well to, it was the first time growing up being in a situation where you just don't know anyone. Even by the time I got to Ohio State, I knew tons of people. My whole family went there. And my parents were still professors at Ohio State by the time I had gotten there. So, I had been on campus since I was a kid. And then all of a sudden I moved to a new city in New York, which is New York. Don't know anybody, but my brother and my sister, who didn't know anybody there, they were in residency. They didn't have any type of social, situation like that. And then just now I'm starting over, right? You're starting over, like trying to create a name for yourself. Who are you at this point in time? I'm a recent college graduate who started law school. I was modeling, I was acting, I was doing all the things to really make a name for myself. But it really taught me a lot about the grind, about what it takes to make a name for yourself in a crowded space, to kind of figure out who you are, to create value. What does value look like to an individual, and particularly someone who's getting inundated with talent? There's so much talent there. So how do you actually find a way to stand out? And that taught me a lot. And then obviously I started law school after that, and that was amazing too. So that's part of my journey, and kind of how, I don't know if you want me to keep going further, but that's how I kind of got into my adulthood and started to realize who it is that I wanted to be and how I needed to get there.
Okay, so tell me about the football experience. Let's start with that, because that was like kind of, I feel like of all the awesome like labels of awesomeness you have, for lack of better words, football was the starting point of the scaffolding of success, right?
So I think football was so interesting for me because I think, I only played football 1 year in high school, my senior year of high school, and I was so fortunate to play on a great team. We won the state championship, St. Francis de Sales, and we had a lot of guys on my team that were very talented that ended up going on and playing Division I football elsewhere. And so as a result of us being really that good and having extra games because of the playoffs, and then having that type of talent, we had all kinds of scouts and people coming to our games. And so that's how I ended up getting looks, is because they would come for other people and they'd be like, wait, who's this fast wide receiver out there? But going to Ohio State football was not something that I dreamed about growing up. I wasn't a football player growing up. That whole thing where it's like, oh, I would die to play at Ohio State. That was never something I thought was remotely in the cards, even after I started playing and having a little bit of success on the field. But once that opportunity came, you know, I had a mentor, well, I wouldn't call him a mentor, but kind of a big bro, Gary Berry, who played at Ohio State. Yeah, that's my guy, DB.
Yeah, we were there at the same time. We had class together, actually.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure you know him well. So DB was around, and he was a senior in high school when I was a freshman. And then so when he was at Ohio State, same type of thing. He was a senior. So I ended up talking to him before I came to Ohio State. And he's like, listen, I'm going to tell you straight up, this is going to be one of the hardest things that you ever do. You know, and so he's like, I'm not saying, you know, I'm not trying to discourage you from doing it or anything like that, but I just want you to understand this is going to be hard. You're going to work hard and you're not going to play. So he's like,
wait a minute, say that again. You're going to work hard and you're not going to play?
You're not going to play. And so, you know, because you're a preferred walk-on, that's cool. But in the hierarchy of things, there's a hierarchy there. There's scholarship guys. There are guys that have been recruited for years, guys that, you know, so yeah, you could be good. And that's not even about whether or not you're good or not as much as that you're just, there's a hierarchy with how this thing works. And eventually, if you keep working hard and you stay for 5 years, maybe you'll end up playing. But that's the reality of how this is going to go. And so that was a very good conversation. I never forgot it.
Okay, wait. What were you thinking when he said that? Because again, when I think about what people, like everybody's aspiring. Everybody I don't know anyone who doesn't want to look a little better, be a little cuter, have a little more money, whatever, right? But the part where what it takes, somebody just sat in your face and said, I don't care how good you are.
Yeah.
You're going to have to work hard and you are not going to get instant results. So please tell me, what are you thinking in that moment?
That was such a critical conversation. I look back to it. And I actually need to talk to Gary about that because I don't even know if he remembers this conversation. But it really put things in perspective for me before I went there. I think that in some ways, I don't know if I even ever thought that I was necessarily going to play or anything like that. I don't know if I'd even thought about that kind of what that would look like. But it did really hit me with a dose of reality. And I was probably potentially naive about what the situation was going to be. And it hit me with a real dose of reality. And interestingly enough, though, I think it was one of the most critical moments in my life to realize that you don't always have to be the star. You can be a part of a team, and there are valuable lessons and valuable things that you can learn and take from being part of a team without necessarily being the star. And
okay, but did you think that right then, though? Were you not like, well, damn, I don't even know if I want to do this thing? Or were you like excited?
That's a good question.
Like, okay, let me take on this challenge.
No, I was not excited.
Okay. So what were you thinking? Were you like, did you question whether or not you want to do it?
100%. Because I'm like, wait, okay. And the way he said it was almost like,
I'm about to work hard and I'm not like, what?
The way he said it was like very matter of fact too. It wasn't like
he didn't sugarcoat it.
Hey, let me give you an idea of the way things could possibly happen. It was like, listen, bro, you're not going to play, you know? So I was like, wow. So it hit me. But I think, and initially I was like, God, is that what I want to do? Because I had opportunities to go play at smaller schools and where I would have probably played. But then I realized as I was, you know, continuing to think about it, that wasn't really my goal with Ohio State. And that wasn't really even let me rephrase. That wasn't really the value for going to play at Ohio State. The value was not necessarily in being on the field as a guy who just learned how to play this sport. That was not the value. The value was in being able to be a part of this brotherhood, create this relationship and be a part of this fraternity that's going to last me a lifetime, going to create experiences that are going to last me a lifetime. And so when I walked into Ohio State, go ahead.
Well, you're okay. Like, you're 18 years old. How you have that wisdom at 18 years old?
I did have that wisdom because that's the only thing that
did your parents talk to you about that? Because I imagine there's some super bright 18-year-olds, but that's a super mature like stance to take. So were there conversations you had earlier on that helped you understand that, or that maybe you had with your parents or others that help you understand that in that moment?
I think so. I can't remember. To be honest, I don't remember.
Hard to remember how you
But I do know that I definitely was able to get perspective from my family, which is something that I always value as well. but I also just really realized what it was. Like I just started playing this sport. This is a miracle that I'm even here.
Okay. So
for me to go into
you
it
were
with
able to humble yourself and
yeah,
put it in perspective.
for me to
Okay.
able to be to even be here and come in with any real expectations in a sport that I'm literally still learning. I'm still learning what coverages are. I don't know. I'm still learning this going there. That is, I realized very quickly that this is like a miracle. In fact, I was nervous about even practice. I wasn't even thinking about, oh, am I going to play? You know, how am I going to play in front of Kenyon Rambo? You know, how am I going to play in front of Mike Wiley and Reggie Jeopardy? How am I going to play in front of these guys? That wasn't even part of the thought process. It was, can I actually learn enough, get up to speed enough to even be able to compete and practice, to be competent enough to be a contributor to this team and scout team or whatever role that I'm getting. So I was able to really put that in perspective early on.
Okay.
Now, if this was soccer, which was the sport I played my whole life,
gotcha. It would have hit different.
That would have been a totally different.
What you mean? Because I'm the man.
Exactly. Okay. It would have been a totally different conversation. Right. So I don't want to act like I was just this super mature guy that just had this perspective on everything.
Okay. Right? That makes sense.
I was able to understand what the circumstance was.
Okay.
And then from that point, I'm also starting to think about value. Like, what is the actual value? What is it that and I don't know if I would have articulated it that way.
Right.
What is it that I actually want from this experience? And then part of it was just kind of just go and see what happens. You know, and just go and see. There's no, he may be right and he may not be right. That's the other thing I kind of convinced myself.
Right.
He's not God, right? So I respected what he said. He may or may not be right. But
so what did happen?
So I went and camp started in August. This is back when Ohio State was on trimesters, excuse me. So camp started August 4th. We didn't start school until September 17th. So pretty much a month and a half, we were on campus by ourselves. And early on, it was just amazing. It was amazing the whole time. But early on, it was great because it was like coming into Ohio State, big university, 55,000 students, whatever. And then you're able to kind of create your tribe and your group of people before classes even start.
Yep.
That was amazing. But it was hard. Right away, 3-a-days. We used to have 3-a-days. We're not even allowed to. It's prohibited by NCAA rules now. 3 practices a day for the first couple of weeks of camp.
For how many hours each?
Maybe an hour and a half each.
Okay.
And then there's a lot
basically a full-time job of practicing.
Yes, pretty much. And so, and you're right into it. And again, for me, some of the drills and some of the things that we're doing are things that are new to me. These aren't I had only played 3 months of football, so it was hard, but
there's a risk of being exposed that you don't actually even know what you're doing.
100% all day.
Which long. I think is one of the harder parts, right? Like there's the strain, the physical strain, but the psychological strain of, you were born in a family who's smart and who's on point, and all your siblings are doing big things, your parents are doing big things. Yeah. And here you are out here exposing the fact that you are not the man and you really are not like.
I'm the lowest on the totem pole. And I'd never been in that situation really before in my life. I'd always been, one of the better athletes on whatever team that I had been on. And so that was never something I had to deal with until I got there. And then you realize, like, wait, these guys are way better than you, way more experienced than you. And not even just from a physical standpoint. Physically, I was, I'm just as fast as everybody. I could lift just as much as those guys. But in terms of understanding the game, knowing where I'm supposed to be, all that type of stuff, that was critical. But it was I look back and I realized that moment in time was so important for me to just understand how to play your position. And I remember Fat Joe.
Not the position on the field. You mean play the position within the role, the team, the reality.
100%. Fat Joe talked about this before, and he was talking about how a lot of guys don't want to be number 2. They don't want to be number 2. And how he learned as he was following Big Pun around pretty much to basically be number 2, and how number 2 pays a lot of dividends. And there's a lot that you can learn from being number 2. Everybody's not going to be number 1. And sometimes your number 1 time will come. But you also have to know how to play that supporting role as well. And that's part of growth and understanding life. And so I look back at that time period and I realized that me learning how to play my role really, really paid dividends in a lot of ways that I was able to develop relationships moving on.
Beautiful. So did you get to the field or were you just
No.
The guy that they practiced with, that
That was
Mike
it.
and them beat up on.
That was it, just a practice player. And interestingly, so here's what also happened. Again, I was on academic scholarship, so I had very real academic responsibilities and goals. I ended up graduating.
You were in law school while you were playing. Well, that would have been undergrad, so you weren't doing.
Yes, I was an undergrad, but I knew that I was going to law school.
Right.
And so my first semester or trimester was the only trimester I didn't make dean's list when I was at Ohio State. And I got like a 3.46. I think you had a 3.5 or above to get it. And I was really, that pissed me off, because I'm just like, I was always on honor roll since I was a kid, and whatever the honor roll was at whatever school. And I'm not blaming it on football, but it was definitely the timing and trying to find a balance of time and all that type of stuff was something that I didn't adjust to as well as I would have liked to. So that honestly kind of set me off. And then I started to realize after the season, I was like, this isn't really what I want to do. Like, I'm not trying to be a football player, really. So I ended up only being on the team for about a year and a half. And then I ended up graduating in 3 years. I wanted to graduate and get to New York and really start that part of my life.
Because you really wanted to what? What was the dream?
The dream was really to be an entertainer,
Even though you were about to go to law school, the dream was to be an entertainer.
The dream was to be an entertainer.
While playing football.
Nothing really excited me as much as the music industry.
Gotcha.
Kind of just the entertainment industry at that time. And that's part of the reason why I wanted to go to New York and why I was fortunate enough to get into NYU so I could kind of kill multiple birds with one stone. And then I knew that I wanted to get there quickly because I feel like I had done what Columbus had to offer at that point.
Right.
Done a lot of different things. I played at Ohio State. That doesn't get bigger than that at that age, pretty much.
Right.
And I knew that I wasn't.
And you were around for one of our better teams, for sure.
Well, my class that I came in with was Mike Doss, Craig Krenzel. Those are my classes. Those ended up being national champions, which would have been my eventual senior year. So yeah, but at the same time, I realized that me continuing to stay there would probably be me living somebody else's dream or somebody else's expectation of what I should be doing, and it wasn't actually my dream. So I had to really make that decision, which was a hard decision.
That's tough at that age to be. These are huge decisions for that.
Very big decisions. Wow. Very big decisions, but a critical decision that I think ultimately set me on the right course for where the rest of my life will go.
So you go to New York, and now you're back humbled. Because for those who have done it, I haven't, but I've heard many tales of what it takes. Give a sense of the grind to start as nobody in New York and be amongst all these folks. I mean, lots of beautiful people, lots of smart people, and everybody wants to be the entertainer and the whatever. So tell us a little bit about that part of the journey.
So when I got to New York, again, my brother and my sister were both there doing their residencies at Columbia, which was great that I knew at least two people there. But they were so focused on work and stuff, they didn't have any real social life. So I knew that I had to go out there and figure it out on my own. And I wanted to get into the entertainment space, modeling, acting, hip hop. Those were my kind of main things. So I had to kind of figure that out. So I was just, this is pre-social media. So it's not like you can just look things up like that. You have to go. You have to just go and experience. And I really missed that aspect of life, honestly, and that freedom to just go and explore. But I ended up meeting someone who's a talent agent, a modeling agent, a talent agent. And I met him through somebody that I was friends with. I can't remember, that may have also had them as an agent. And so he ended up representing me. That was kind of my first talent agent that represented me. And so early on, I was doing like a lot of music videos. I was in so many music videos, so many.
All little baby roles, right?
Yeah.
In the background.
Exactly.
What he was doing? He was in the background like this?
Well, it's funny. It started like that. And then I would start getting feature roles.
Okay. So you go from this to this?
Yeah. So now you see me. So like I'm in the Jaheim music video. I'm in A. Marie. I'm in Common and Erykah Badu. I'm in Faith Hill and Mos Def. I'm in all these different music videos. And it was amazing because I was able to meet a lot of people that I grew up listening to and watching. and just observing, and then learn kind of how these processes go, and budgets, and all of the different dimensions, lighting and makeup and hair and staging, and all the different things that go into kind of producing these 3-minute things that we end up watching. Those video shoots used to be 17-hour days, sometimes 3 days, 3 straight 17-hour days to produce that 3 minutes that you see.
Wow.
Right. That's back when they had budgets. They had budgets back then.
Big boy
budgets. Budgets anymore. Right now you get an iPhone. That's about all you get for budget. But it was such an amazing experience to learn that.
Mm-hmm.
But through those experiences, I ended up meeting people and connecting with people, and meeting and connecting and meeting and connecting. And then I eventually ended up talking to somebody that I was really cool with. We weren't dating necessarily, but we were cool. And she was working at Wu-Tang Studios, 36 Chambers. And so then I would go down there, and then I would that's how I ended up meeting RZA and end up meeting some of their engineers. And so it just kind of became a snowball effect. And then you realize the industry is not that big in New York. It's not that big. Once you know a couple of people, first of all, Manhattan's only 12 miles long. It's not that big. And they're only probably 4 miles of where people are actually going, you know, the entertainment industry. And once you get plugged in, you start going and you start seeing the same people. So I started making a name for myself, and then I started getting some ads. I was in like the Source ad.
Source, throwback. This is nostalgia. This whole conversation is nostalgia.
Yeah. Source, Vibe, King. You know, then I got a Jeep Wrangler national ad campaign. So things started to kind of go in motion. I got the Dave Chappelle show thing. Music videos were still going. And then all of a sudden it was time to start law school, right? So no more playtime.
Oh,
yeah, you deferred law school for a year, and now it's time to go. So August rolled around, and I pretty much had to just cut off all that stuff, all that.
Did you want to, or was this a parent pressure thing? Because if we can ask, I know I'm putting you on the
spot. It's a good question. I did want to. I was very excited to start law school, to be honest. Very excited.
Even though you were running around with all these awesome peeps?
I was. And I started throwing parties too, which was also kind of crazy. But what I thought of myself, which is what I've always thought of myself, is that I'll figure out a way to make it happen still. Maybe
to
not
have it all.
Yeah.
Okay. So you were like, I'm about to shut this down and start law school, but trust and believe I'm gonna figure out how to swing back and have it all.
100%. This is not the end of me. This is not the last of me. But I do also understand how serious law school is and is about to be, and how that could also pay dividends and factor into kind of what my ultimate life will be like, even including in the entertainment industry. So I had this type of perspective. And again, I think that's why I keep always referencing being the youngest. I feel like just the conversations I was able to have with my siblings and my parents, the things I was able to observe, I feel like those things really helped give me perspective through all of this. So yeah, it was fun, definitely. That year, that deferral year was like the best year of my life, because it was, you live in New York for free. I'm living on my oh my God, living on the couch with my siblings
you
couch.
had no bills and all parties, basically.
Yes. I'm outside. Like I was outside.
That was before we outside. We outside.
That was before that. And then I started meeting a lot of people, and then it just became, you know, just what I wanted it to be. And then law school started, and law school was amazing. I really enjoyed it. Academically, I really enjoyed it. Like it's not like, oh, I just felt, man, I got to do this. No, I really enjoyed it and the challenge of it. And I did very well my first year of law school. I did very well through law school, but my first year, which is the hardest year, I did very well. And then I think going into my second year, I felt like I kind of had a grasp of it a little bit more. So I was able to kind of get back out there a little bit more and start doing some of the performing and throwing parties and stuff like that. So I'm doing that. We performed in constitutional law class, literally. Like it's like I had another guy, one of my close friends to this day. His name is Arinze, who was also Nigerian, who was also the youngest of 4 kids, who was also a rapper. And it was a year behind.
You found another unicorn that's a rapper
at NYU. And not only that, he was one of the dopest rappers that I'd ever heard. Like, not just like, oh, he can rap. He was unbelievable. Like, could have blown for real. And so he and I linked up, and he was a year behind me. We like instantaneously. I mean, we're like looking at.
Yeah, you were like soul twins, basically.
His brother's name is Mekka, which is my name. You know, it's just like,
wow.
It's to this day, it's still the craziest thing. It's my guy forever. But so we ended up performing in constitutional law class. Like we were like we performed at different talent shows that they had at NYU. We were outside still. So we figured out a way to kind of make it work and get that value. After I graduated law school, I ended up working at one of the top 10 law firms in the world called Weil, Gotshal and Manges. Great, extremely prestigious job. Worked in the IP litigation department, which was beautiful. I ended up working on music licensing cases. I went there deliberately. I had 18 offers from across the country in 6 or 7 different cities. And I chose that firm specifically because of the fact that they had the intellectual property litigation department that would cover things like music law and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that I went there, and that was an absolute blessing. But I knew, though, again, that this was not going to last long, because I need to get out there and I need to go fight for my dream. And my dream at that point was, I want to be a big artist. I want to be a big time entertainer. And I realized that all the stuff that I was doing parties on the side still with the New York Giants. I lived with the New York Giants. I mean, we were outside, okay? But I realized that if I wanted to go and do this for real, I had to put my back against the wall.
Mm.
Because trying to do these things at night and on the weekend,
mm-hmm.
you'll get somewhere a little bit, but it's not you. If you keep coming back to your comforting job, it's hard to ever really make it the way you need to. And part of what I realized at that point was that the people who make it for real are people who, for the most part, have their back up against the wall. Like
Ooh.
this is, and the only way that my back is going to be, it's not going to be up against the wall if I'm making $180,000 at 24 years old in New York with very few responsibilities. It's not going to be that. And I'm getting Yankees tickets and I'm getting benefits. And then every year they're increasing. I'm getting a bigger bonus there's no possible way your back is going to be up against the wall. And that you're going to also have the amount of time to give it the attention that it needs. So I made a very drastic decision and I left the law firm. And that was like,
was making 180 stacks at 24, which back then more than what it is now.
For sure. So
what you're saying to me is you literally made life hard on yourself on purpose.
On purpose. Yep. It was 160,000 base salary plus bonus. 24 years old. I was living in Harlem in a 4-bedroom apartment, didn't have a ton of bills. So it was.
You gave it up to make it hard because you understood that that's what you had to do.
That's it.
So you were living, and so we're clear, like you were living what most people would say is a dream. And for those of you who pursued that traditional path, if you will, to go become the attorney, the doctor, whatever, right? We're not hating, but for you, that's not really still what I want. I want to be an artist. 100%. So you walk away, and now what? What do we? We're going after the music. Career.
Yes. And what I did do is I saved a lot of money that year, which was good because I knew that I was going to leave. But I didn't really have many things in motion. And I know that a lot of times, people will be like, well, wait till you get a record deal first, then you can leave. It's like that. Well, you don't understand. It doesn't work unless you get struck by lightning. It doesn't work like that. You have to actually put in the work to put yourself in position to even be considered for that, if that's what you're going for. So it was a controversial decision, not even just in my family. My dad was very nervous about that decision. I'm the youngest of 4. I'm the final one. And I finally.
And you achieved the thing and you are walking away. What is wrong with you, sir?
Complete uncertainty, right? And then there's blogs got a hold of it, American Bar Association, XXL Magazine. I mean,
I think I remember seeing some of those articles.
It was covered everywhere. And
it's like the title got to be "Man Loses His Mind, Walks Away from Amazing
Job." People were calling me crazy on all the threads and the blogs.
Become a rapper.
Yes.
But you became a rapper, right? Yeah. Tell me about some of your success in getting to the rapper life. I know you've already dropped some big names.
Yeah.
But tell us about some of the things you did in your rap career.
So at that point in time, at this point, I was like, I got to figure out a way to make a name for myself, And so I ended up networking like crazy, which is gonna be a constant theme throughout my story. Every time you hear me say anything, about any phase of my life, there's going to be a networking theme to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up meeting somebody that worked at ESPN, and I told them that, you know, I had some music, and I wanted to know if they knew the music supervisor at ESPN, the person who controls what music gets played on the shows. And he told me that he didn't really know him, but he had his email address and he would forward it to me. And then pretty much I was on my own from there. So I was like, cool, that's all I need. So he gave me his email address. I reached out to him. He ended up responding, which is amazing, because trust me, a lot of times people do not respond and did not respond.
Mm-hmm.
And we ended up creating a relationship. And by that fall, I ended up having a 4-song licensing deal with ESPN for my music to be played on ESPN. And I negotiated it in a way where, yes, I would get a fee for it, but I also would have my name would appear on the screen. Every time the song was played, it would say Mekka Don and then the title of the song. And that was a pivotal moment for me, I think, in a number of ways. One, it validated to a lot of other people who are skeptical that, okay, this guy must be a real artist on some level if his music is.
Yeah, because you were like the smart guy who allegedly raps. And let's just be honest, if you a rapper, you got to be from the hood and be slanging some stuff. And you can't be smart, like book smart, that kind of, right? And be a good rapper. Like, that's impossible.
There was a lot of that. And so I think that opened up a lot of opportunities in terms of, well, not really opportunities, but just change people's minds and perspective. Okay, this guy is at least serious and at least has some talent. And so that started opening up doors. And then I started having collaborations and, you know, with Busy Bone and, you know, Machine Gun Kelly, and then Sway in the Morning. Actually, I ended up winning an MTV award. I ended up winning an MTV award called MTVU Best Freshman from one of my videos. And I ended up beating 4 other artists that were in the contest that were all signed to major labels. One of the girls had Rick Ross in her video. Like, it was like that. And I ended up winning, crushing. So that really set things off. And that winning that award, then I'm on MTV and VH1. Then my next video and song, Here We Go, was on MTV and VH1. And then Sway in the Morning had me on his show. And that set things off. And then he had me on the show again. And so it kind of, those things like really propelled my career. Mm-hmm. And then ultimately, the president of Ohio State at the time, Gordon Gee, he heard about all this stuff that was happening. It was like, wait, hold on. Mekka is a Buckeye. We have music,
and you out here doing big things.
Yeah, I got him on ESPN. I see him on MTV. He needs to come do stuff for Ohio State. So that's how I ultimately ended up coming back to Ohio State and doing anthems for Ohio State, Juice, and then most recently Buckle Up, which was both national championship anthems. And then a number of other things happened from that, Big Ten Network deals, and then Cleveland Browns, and then HBO, and kind of just carved my own niche as, you know, I don't want to say a sports anthem guy, but I have my own albums and my own songs, but I think the sports anthems were what a lot of people started to know me for.
Right.
And that was another lesson that I learned, was about kind of being able to pivot, because for me, I have my own music that a lot of people like, but the things that made me the most popular and got me the most exposure were these anthems. And so,
which is not the cool thing, but it's the thing from a business perspective and understanding why. Because if we're just doing it to get seen, that's one thing. But if you're doing it for success and moving the needle, what works?
Well, and then the other thing is that, and then it becomes incumbent on you to make the relationships, or to take the network, or take whatever value is that's created from that and make it work for you. If you listen to Nelly or somebody, they'll tell you like, Country Grammar, those are not their favorite songs. You know, it's just that, but those are the ones that people like, and it's like, all right,
loved it
100%. So last point on that real quick is Buckle Up, for example, is a perfect example of this. Buckle Up is a song that I did 2024 Ohio State's national championship year. They ran out to it every game. Buckle Up got so popular that I ended up being asked to perform that song live on Fox Big Noon Kickoff for that kickoff show. And what's crazy is the week before me on that same show was Fat Joe and DJ Khaled. The week before that was Offset. The week before that was Moneybagg Yo. And then it's me. And so I was like, wow, this is the stage that I've been looking for my whole life. My whole life. And I thought I was going to get it a certain way, but it literally came through this. Somewhere else. And it was such a powerful lesson. I was like, I ended up being on the exact same stage as the exact same guys that I wanted to be on stage with, getting the exact same national exposure that I wanted, but through this route. And so that was just, that's many years later after I started, but it's what perseverance can do.
All right. So we're going to take through where you're at now, and then I'm going to ask you just a couple of questions because it sounds like you just had this magical journey, but we know there's challenges all the way.
Yeah.
Before I get to those, though, obviously you got the Chip song, Buckle Up came out.
Mhm.
You wrote the book.
Yes.
And now, why settle for all that success when we can take it to another level? Tell us what you're doing now.
So just recently, this week actually.
Recently.
Yeah. Well, I was going to talk about the genesis of it, but I launched a new AI platform that I built. It's a brand management platform and content generation platform called Ellafly. And the reason that I came up for it, first of all, I've been, as a lawyer and kind of a consultant, I've always been managing or helping people manage their brands, whether it's athletes or entertainers, professionals, businesses. Obviously built my own brand. Mm-hmm. And I realized over time that some of the things that came natural to me, or that I understood naturally, were not necessarily natural to other people. Mm-hmm. And then also with the advent of AI, and then obviously social media now, and people's desire and need and understanding to stay present and consistent, it's just an extreme burden for most people, most professional businesses. How do you stay consistent on social media? How do you even know if, and not even just posting consistently, but is my brand voice consistent? Is my voice consistent across platforms day in, day out? And a lot of people end up freezing up or just neglecting it because they just don't have the systems in place to help them do it. So my system will do brand consultation, AI-powered brand consultation, figure out exactly who you are, what's your style, what do you care about, what do you write like, and from that we'll put together a voice profile, and then from there you can literally generate content on the snap of a finger for any platform that you want to generate content for. So if you have an idea and you say you want to give it a prompt, hey, I want to write something about, athletes and NIL, and then you say, I want to do it for LinkedIn. You click LinkedIn, click generate content, and it'll generate something in your voice for you that you can now use and post. Now, let's say you say, look, I don't even know what to tell it. Like, that's my problem. I can't think of any ideas. Well, we have a content idea generator that you can click, and I'll give you 25 ideas right away that are within your brand and the scope of your brand and what you do and the things that you say are important to you. And then from there, you can choose which one you like and click it for whatever platform. And so that just launched. And what's been amazing about this journey, first of all, the product just launched, but there's been multiple rounds of beta.
Sure, absolutely, because success is not overnight.
Yes. Building and frustrating nights, and you're just like, gosh, and, trying to get to where you want to go. But the experience has been amazing. Just, being in the space of AI and tech, I think is a very important space for people of color, particularly, to get into.
Absolutely.
Because I think that's where the next wave, I don't think the next wave of wealth and millionaires is coming from there. And ultimately people who control kind of the systems, control the data, are going to be people who are going to be controlling the world. So we can't just allow ourselves to be left behind in that situation. So even from a business standpoint, I'm excited about Ellafly specifically for what it does. But from a broader standpoint, I realize the importance of what I'm doing as well.
Love it. All right. So we're coming down the wire. We're going to go short fire round for just some questions, because first of all, thank you for sharing the journey.
Sure.
But what happens in interviews like this is we highlight the awesomeness and what happened, that gets you where you are from the good side of things. But I want to ask you some of the challenging parts, because again, in my work, as you know, forever, my entire life, and specifically as we continue to bring members into Achieve Global, we want to make sure people understand that you can achieve anything, but it's hard. So my first quick fire question for you, tell me one moment when you almost quit. Just a quick story about what happened. And apparently you didn't, or you wouldn't be here. So tell me about it.
I think that in 2018, I had a song called Nip and Tuck that it really started to blow up. And there was a Nip and Tuck challenge. It was huge, huge deal. And it was all over the place. And I was so excited. I had another song called Born to Win that I was going to follow it up with. And then in January of 2019, I ended up getting my foot run over by an Uber driver and broke my foot had fractures, the whole thing. And I ended up having to get surgery. I just kind of stay off social media because there's a lawsuit, the whole thing. And that was one of the hardest times in my life. I feel like that was the first time I probably had gone through an actual depression, because now to that point, Mekka Don was who I had been. And what Mekka Don meant was you're out there, you're performing, you're moving around, you're on social media, you're engaged. And now I'm just literally in my house with no engagement, no ability to do stuff. I missed the Super Bowl performance that I was supposed to perform at with Gunna and Lil Baby.
Whoa.
This happened like in January. Super Bowl was in February. So that was a point in time where I really had thought about just, maybe this is a sign from God. I shouldn't be doing this, and really almost quit. And then luckily I was able to get out of that and look at it differently, from a different perspective, that no, it wasn't a sign that I should stop. It was actually a challenge to see whether or not I really cared about this enough. And so that was a situation that I almost quit, but so glad I didn't.
Love it. Love it. So that brings me to my next quick fire question. What mindset do you rely on when you're facing a challenge? And perhaps there was one that came out of that, or what that you already had that you were using. What's a mindset that you leverage when you're facing a challenge?
That's why I love a mindset that I leverage when I'm facing a challenge, is remembering what I've done in the past. That's why I love celebrating small wins and storing those in kind of the quote unquote success bank that I can draw from anytime I feel like I can't do this, or this is too hard, or no, I have an experience I can draw from in every single type of scenario where I overcame something, whatever this thing is, that allowed me to be successful. So really storing those memories and not allowing them to just be fleeting things of the past, I think is one of the mindsets that really helps me move forward.
So you're saying you're in the moment of challenge, and you say to yourself, you're starting to feel like, I can't do this. I don't know if I can do this. And you remind yourself, oh no, you have a whole bank of success, of things you've overcome. And then you remind yourself of what those are, to remind yourself in that moment, you can do it because you've done it before.
Done it before. And I remember feeling the same pressure probably before I did that thing that I now have, that I overcame.
And reminder that you felt this pressure before.
Exactly.
Love it. That's a good one. Okay, next one. Is there a daily ritual or framework or tool that you use to stay productive, to stay on point? Because when you think about success, so success is reserved for the consistent.
Yes.
For the resilient, which means you have to really win every day, right? Yes. Not meaning every day has to be on point.
Yes.
But you've got to be able to consistently discipline and lead yourself, so that when there's no pressure from anywhere, it has to come from you.
Yeah.
In order to consistently perform and get to this point, to get to Ohio State, to get to make the team, to get to graduating from law school, to write a book, to do all these things. So what's any daily rituals you use that just help you stay on point, stay productive, and stay on track with whatever goal you're pursuing at any one moment?
So I think recently, making my bed every day, I really subscribe to that.
Huge.
Yeah, I really subscribe to that, because it's like a task. It's like seeing yourself complete a task, and then start to organize the way you want your mind to be thinking about the day. The second thing is also fairly recent. Is taking my kids to school every morning, and that ride to school, engaging with them. We do affirmations every day. We pray every day on the way to school. And then we listen to music, and one of our favorite songs, believe it or not, is Push It by OT Genesis.
Okay.
And it's such a motivator, just in terms of like just reminding yourself. So I think for me, it's remembering why I'm doing this. Because really for my kids, is a lot of the reason why I'm pushing as hard as I'm pushing now, because I realize that the decisions that I'm making now are directly going to affect what their lives end up being like. And so for me, I think that's just been, a daily kind of motivator and a reminder for why it's time to go. Okay.
Do you mind sharing any of the affirmations that you share with your babies?
Oh yeah. Well, so they'd say their own ones. So,
okay.
So they say, I am smart. I am able. I am a leader. I love myself. I love my hair. I love my skin. Those are
Oh.
they say those. So there are a few more. I don't want to say them all, but
Yeah,
you
no,
know,
you got to keep some of
yeah,
that for
yeah.
y'all.
But you know, things that really make sure that first of all, them affirming themselves, who they are and their capabilities. Particularly, again, they go to private schools, so not everybody that's there looks like them. Just reminding themselves of how beautiful they are inside and out, and then how capable they are. I think those things are important. And then me hearing them say that also is motivation for me to make sure that I'm continuing to create the environment to where they can truly actually believe those things and see those things through and have the support all the way through as well. So it's that's definitely one of my most cherished morning rituals for sure.
Beautiful. What's your affirmation for you?
Similar. So I'm a
Okay.
leader. I can overcome challenges. You know, I am not who they say I am. You know, that's a big one for me is I am who I believe that I am. You know, that's one of my
Which I
biggest
love
ones.
better than I'm not who they say I am, because that's
Yes,
on them.
that's
I
not
am
really an
who I say
affirmation.
I am.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes.
So I am who I say I am, and that one's big because you will face a lot of times when people try to challenge. Well, what makes you think that you can do this, and why do you think you could be a tech founder? Or what's your background in such and such, or why do you know that people? And sometimes it's not even them saying anything; it's just the way they ask a question,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to remind yourself, you know, why not me is also another affirmation that I like. You know, I don't know if you consider that affirmation, but something that is very important for us to realize. People say, "Why you?" No, it's why not me. You know, I think that's also been a big one for me.
Yeah. And I will just coach for a minute. When you all are making self-affirmations, we don't put not or negatives in there at all. We only focus on who we are and what we want, even if
Yes.
we don't believe it's true.
Yes.
So it is me. I am her. I
Yes.
am amazing. I am smart. We don't focus on anything negative or anyone else but ourselves and what we truly believe or want to believe. Because part of affirmations is
100%.
saying it even when you don't believe it, so that you train your psyche to follow. So how did you throw that in there as the coach that I am? Yeah. So last question. Newsflash to everyone. Those of us who know. Achievement and success is hard. I mean, the moment when you get to go on the news, as you just recently did, to share your new app is amazing. The moment when you get to come on with Dr. Joy and share your journey and smile is amazing, but success is hard.
Yes.
There's a ton. I wish we had more time to talk about the hard.
Yeah.
But I do want to ask you, how do you stay well when the pressure becomes real? No matter how high you make it, no matter how many amazing moments you have, the self-doubt always shows up.
Yep.
The questions show up. Life keeps life in at times.
Yeah.
And it can get hard. So what do you do to keep yourself well when we're still battling a world where, although we're making progress in normalizing and humanizing success, well-being is not as promoted as I would like. So what do you do to stay well?
Well, first of all, I think it's a battle that we're fighting every single day. So I think staying well is a daily, that's a job, theoretically, a career of its own. So I think if you look at the kind of your existence, the mind, the body, all of these things, you look at it kind of as like a machine, and everything kind of needs to be like, just like a car, for example. If the carburetor's not working, everything else could be working, but that car's not going to be running efficiently. The brakes don't work well, everything else could be working well, but if those brakes don't work well, you can be in trouble. So I think I try to really understand all of the separate kind of the different aspects of what success means and what wellness means. So eating well, for example, drinking water, you keep seeing me my water. I fast, intermittent fasting. I do that 6 days a week. I've been doing that for almost 2 years. Maybe this is going to my 3rd year now. Taking time for meditation and prayer in the morning, quiet time, which we call it here in our house. We all do it, even if it's just 5 minutes where you're just still not thinking about anything. And then for the big one for me, and this is, you know, people always talk about me smiling all the time. One of the reasons why I'm smiling all the time is because I realize this. I've really curated the environments that keep me wanting to smile. So relationship wise, I've never been in a toxic relationship. And not to say that I couldn't be, or that, I'm perfect or anything like that. But I'm very intentional about the relationships that I have and the people that I give my time to. And the second that I feel like that's not going well, I'm out, And so it's not that I won't fight for something, but I'm very particular. So it takes me a long time to get, historically, to get into any type of relationship or to have any type of consistency. So trying to curate those environments, the people that I talk to, the type of words that I hear, the podcasts I listen to, making sure that I'm just kind of curating my life. And it's not that I'm trying to put myself in a bubble or insulate myself from anything that'll challenge me or insulate me, but it's about energy. Even the way somebody, like, for example, I know if you correct me or if you coach me or guide me, you're doing it with love. There are other people that are saying it out of hate or spite. So it's not that I'm afraid of criticism, but it's that I want to protect my energy.
It needs to be healthy
around it 100%. So those are the things that I think keep me fighting to be healthy consistently every single day. It's just making sure I think about those things.
I love it. Yeah. All right. We're going to wrap up with one suggestion you have for those who are chasing their dreams, whether they are here or here. What's based on your journey? What's one lesson you would learn or suggestion you would have that you think would be helpful for others as they continue to pursue achieving their goals?
Okay, I'm going to give two if you don't mind. One is, that's just who I am. One is kind of a more worldly kind of one, and another one is just like a practical one. So I think the first one is define success and happiness for yourself. Like, be intentional about figuring out what that actually means for you. I think me doing that for myself is another reason why I smile a lot, because what other people might think is success or happiness or what the society might say is, that's not my definition. And if I feel like I'm succeeding according to my definition, I'm happy. And that's a very hard thing to do, but that's something that I think is very, very important. The second thing is, and this is more of a practical thing, is learn AI.
Boom.
This is important. AI, whether it's in your business and how it affects your business and your outputs and your daily outputs, or it's something that you invest in from, AIQ, which is a stock, a mutual fund. Invest in AIQ, by the way. Or if you're actually building businesses, you have to be involved aggressively in understanding the world of AI, because if you don't, this is probably the last major technological wave, that and quantum computing, but the last major technological wave that is going to really, really affect the world. It's going to affect the world in ways that we have never, ever seen before. And if you don't understand it and you're not using it, you're going to get left behind, and quickly. People are losing their jobs, losing opportunities every day right now. Don't shy away from it and be scared of it and think, I learn. No. Go learn.
Boom. All right, Mekka, I appreciate your time today. Let the folks know where they can find you, follow you, and download your app.
Yes. So at Mekka Don Music, MEKKADON Music. That's all my personal social media. Ellafly's social media is Ellafly, ELLIFLY AI. So if you do Ellafly AI on pretty much any social media platform, you will find us. And then you can download the app or sign up for the app, www.ellafly.com, ELLIFLY.com, and definitely check that out. Have any questions, hit us up. But yeah, you can find me on all the socials.
All right. And you can find out more about Achieve Global at achieve.global. Thank you again, Mekka, for your time. And thank you for allowing me to be in your world, considering you're so thoughtful about who you engage with. I'm honored I'm one of those people.
I appreciate it.
We will see you all very soon. Love and light. Happy Black History Month. Go forth and be great, y'all.